Welcome to the Mental Health Moments with Angela Nsimbi. This Today in this episode, I'm actually going to talk about when do you reveal to your children, talk to them about your mental health challenges, because we can't navigate life, especially if you already have the challenge and your children are around you. They don't understand your moods, they don't understand what's going on, and you're always silent about it. Because our African culture, we love keeping things hush hush. We don't want to tell the children. We're saying, these are adult things, you don't need to tell the children. So this particular time, it is at what point do you tell them? So I'm going to talk about how my journey was, how I had to tell them. And I remember actually the first time I had a breakdown. Obviously, there was rapid speech. I was talking rapidly, and I remember, to disguise the noise. No, that was the second time. To disguise the noise, my husband, actually, I remember him increasing the volume of the television so that the children don't hear what I'm saying. But I wasn't well. I wasn't in a good place. So I remember when I eventually had to go into admission, because that was the second time when I had to go and be admitted. I had to be an inpatient in hospital. Um, I realized that, the children need to understand, because they were confused. They were young and they are wondering, Mommy has always been available. Mommy has been alert. Mommy has been like paying attention to us. So suddenly, she's not in a good space, and they want to understand why. I'll mention just some of the things that I recall, because I remember my young sister had to be with the children as I got medical attention. And one of my, she was the second young, the third in my third baby. At that time, she was really young. She was in nursery school, and she kept following her auntie up the stairs. She sat at the staircase and kept telling the auntie, Auntie Ruth, Mommy is not well. Mommy is not well. And she kept following her teacher when she went to school. She kept telling the teacher, Teacher, my mommy is not well. My mommy is not well. So I realized that, we need to talk to the children. And they needed to hear it from me. So I remember having them in the room after I had been discharged, and we got them back home from their auntie's place. And I actually talked to them. I said, what happened, the way you saw mommy react and behave. I wasn't well, and there are moments when I actually need to rest and I need that space, just to explain them to them in age appropriate terms. And I remember, as because it has been a journey of taking medication. I don't take medication anymore. I give God glory, because God has helped me to use what I call Bible therapy to enjoy better mental health. So anyhow, that's now fast forward. But now let me take you through my journey, how I eventually had to talk to the children. So I remember my first girl eventually joining secondary school, and my background, I'm a journalist professionally. With the experience that I have got with the mental health challenges that came my way several years back, I've trained in different spaces, and I'm now a mental health recovery coach. And God has blessed me. I'm also an author. So now I had written a story about my experience. But of course, even before I wrote about it, I had to go by my family, talk to my husband about it, so that people know, family is central. And I needed to tell the story. So when he was okay with me telling that story, I remember talking to my daughter, because there was that in that time there was a magazine by Vision Group called Flair for Her. That magazine was called Flair for Her. So I remember my supervisor at the time, who was my big sister, God rest her soul, she passed away, who I remember telling me, Angela, I want you to write for the corporate woman about mental health, getting your groove back after crisis. And you can break it down, your diet and all those things. So when I had the article come out in the magazine, and normally I used to give my daughter that magazine whenever she would be going to a boarding school. I give it to her. And I remember this particular time, before giving her the magazine, I told her, by the way, mommy's story is in here. Are you comfortable with your friends knowing about mommy's story? I said, Mommy, it's okay. I mean, I already told them. And because I told them, there is no problem. Then I asked her something. If I was still like really down, would you have shared this story? She says, no, mommy. The truth is, I share your story because you have recovered. I share your story because I can see the hope. I can see the way your life has been transformed. So I gave her the magazine and she shared it with her friends. And then her younger sister also eventually also joined the boarding school. So I also asked her, did you talk about this issue that mommy had faced with your friends? And she said, yeah, mommy, I did. Actually, one of my friends even told me, hey, what your mommy went through, that is even a testimony. You should tell more and more people about it. So I realized that what is important, tell them what they can handle. Don't give them too much information, but let them know that, yes, you're going through moments of struggle and you need their cooperation, however young they are, because they will know, how children are. When mommy is around at home, mommy this, mommy that, mommy that, especially when they are very young, they are all over you and you just need that space to breathe. So in those moments, explain to them in simple terms. You don't have to make it complicated and say now bipolar and say, oh, now it's depression or now anxiety. No, just tell them, mommy is not feeling well. And most times when you see me snap at you, I'm being irritable, that means I need some rest. So you give mommy some time to rest. Just talk to them. Because I recently had a counseling session. I'm also a peer counselor. Counseling session with a gentleman who's beautiful wife is facing mental health challenges. And he also said, I've noticed she can be very snappy, like she can be irritable, and she shouts and yells at the children. So it's affecting the children in different ways. And I recall telling him, you know what, have you ever talked to the children about the situation? Yeah, they are young. But I said, yeah, because also me, the first time these issues happened to me, my oldest baby was 9 years at the time. And she was 9 years at the time. And I had 4 of them already. So 9, you don't want to imagine how young the rest were, because my baby at the time was 9 months. So I told him, you know what, just explain simply. Don't complicate it, so that they can understand when she needs to rest, and so that irritability is not intense. And of course, it helps when somebody has help at home. So how to talk to the children? Make it conversational. Make it conversational. It doesn't have to be like it's a big serious lecture. Make it conversational. Ask them also what they think. Now, like one of my girls, while she was still in secondary school, actually some people would come to her for help. They say, can your mommy help? I'm like this, I'm like that. And so I started actually even counseling my children's um, peers to support them on the journey, because some of them, they would be drowsy when they're on medication, and yet they had to go in school, boarding school at that, and they had to go through the process of school like every other student. So like just a way of also encouraging them that they can still go through school, they can excel. And so it has helped my daughter also be a voice for the young people, by coming to me and telling me when her young friends have challenges. And then I can also see how do I support those friends. But where did it start? It started by us having an open conversation. So I don't want to prolong this video. I just realized that as families, we need to stop keeping the secrets, what we call secrets, from our children, because when we speak honestly with the children, and here we are talking no stigma, we are talking no discrimination. How are we going to handle those things if we hush hush and we are walking on eggshells when there is crisis in families? And you know, when the children are older, there's something which it is a bit sad, but I'll share it because I wrote it in my book here. When the children are older, they will also be more helpful. They'll be understanding, because I remember my daughter telling me, when I was not well the second time, I had the baby. The baby was just 4 months at the time, and my son was exclusively breastfeeding. And when I went in crisis, I could not breastfeed my child. I could not hold my baby. So my daughter, the big one, was then holding the baby. So as she was holding the baby, she told me, "Mommy, whenever I would walk past the bedroom window and he hears your voice, he would go quiet." Those things, that was an emotional moment for me at that point. And but I realized that, wow, he still recognizes mommy even though I wasn't well. But now, because this is a child who was also exclusively breastfeeding, I was in crisis. I could not breastfeed my baby. Now the big girl was giving him water using a teaspoon. My daughter was giving that brother using a teaspoon. And of course, it could only last up to a certain point as they waited for their dad to bring formula. Because now remember, this is a child who has been breastfeeding exclusively, but needed now to learn to have milk in a different way. So I just want to talk to you. I want to share from my book. It's called Breaking Free. I just want to share a little bit about how I spoke to my children about mental health, my mental health challenges at the time, and how they began, how their voices, how what they say. And I'll not mention my children's names for the sake of confidentiality, but people who want to read the book, their names are in the book. Okay, it has helped me. This is one of my girls saying, it has helped me know that behind what people do, there's always something that triggers their behavior. That's what one of my children said. Then another one says, my friend understands. She says that your story is a testimony and encourages me to tell other people. Yeah, so, wow, I didn't expect it to be as emotional as it is, but let me read another part, just to tell you how it helps when you talk to the children. Talking to my children, I find, also helps to reduce the stigma surrounding mental health issues. I have found that talking to them gives them permission to share their own challenges without having to feel ashamed. Today I look at the get well card. I'll read that part. Wow, they gave me a get well card. They gave it to me, that is 10 years ago, and so it's over 10 years ago, with words expressing their love for me. And I smile at the memory. The colorful peach card with floral patterns, with a picture of a pretty garden where there is a chair and a table. As I held this beautiful card in my hands, I reflectively observed how it portrays a beautiful atmosphere for recovery, especially if you're an outdoors person. Then I thought on how time flies. My card is as good as new. It was my lifeline of hope whenever I looked at it during those dark moments. In addition to this beautiful card, they wrote me lovely notes, assuring me of their love for me, their childlike faith, decreed hope in my life, saying, with God, all things are possible. Their faith encouraged me to believe that it was a matter of time and this season would be over. It was a matter of time for something beautiful to be born out of this. Deep inside, I knew beauty would manifest, though I did not know how. And I quote also Ecclesiastes 7:14, which says, when times are good, be happy. And when times are bad, consider God has made the one as well as the other. Therefore, a man cannot discover anything about his future. So when I say something beautiful had to be birthed, this gives me also an opportunity to talk about some of the beautiful things that have been birthed. I welcome you to the Ketura Mental Health Awards. That is an initiative that has been birthed out of this journey. And it is the 3rd edition. It is scheduled to take place October 10th, 2024. And before I share more about it, I just want to encourage people to nominate individuals and organizations in the different categories. I'll share a link I'll share a link where you can do the nominations. And this initiative is powered by partners. It's not done as an individual. The organization behind it is Nantamba Wellness Support under the project which is called Heart to Heart Chat Mental Health Program. And we are partnering with the Ministry of Health, Mental Health Division. We are partnering with the COPE community. We are partnering with Esther's Ventures. We are partnering with Divine Touch, with Vision Group. Vision Group is one of our main sponsors. Crown Beverages Limited, Yana Initiative, Toriweka. We are together with different partners and we are making this happen on October 10th. Our theme this year is going to be different because we realize that families are struggling and they don't know where to get help. So the theme this year is family-centered mental health care and support. Click that button, nominate that individual making a difference, nominate that organization making a difference. See you there. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.